Ladies and gentlemen, our Independence Day event is about to begin. We wish to begin by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation on whose land we are gathered today. We pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be present today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Arkian Stefaneshan.
And I'm Alina Malik.
And it is our honor to welcome you to this significant event celebrating Ukraine's Independence Day of 2024 under the theme of freedom, courage, culture. Today, we gather not only to honor a day that marks the hard-earned independence of Ukraine, but also to recognize the invincible spirit of a nation that continues to fight for its sovereignty and freedom.
Ukraine's road to independence has been long and arduous, marked by centuries of struggle, perseverance, and unyielding desire for self-determination. From the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, when Ukraine declared its independence, to the pivotal moments of the Orange Revolution and the Revolution of Dignity, the Ukrainian people have shown the world what it means to stand up for freedom, democracy, and human rights.
However, the fight for independence is ongoing. Today, Ukraine faces a new and fierce challenge as it bravely defends its land, its people, and its culture in the face of aggression. The courage displayed by Ukrainians in this war is nothing short of extraordinary. Their resilience, unity, and determination have inspired people around the globe.
As we celebrate this day, let us honor not only the history of Ukraine's independence, but also the present struggle and the hope for a victorious future where peace and freedom prevail. Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Australian national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is God by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Please be seated. Before we begin, we have a short message from the First Lady of Ukraine, Ms. Olena Zelenska.
Дорогі друзі в Австралії, австралійці і українці. Кажуть, технології, от, наприклад, наш відеозв'язок, долають відстані, роблять людей ближче. Але насправді найкраще за все долають відстані і зближують нас небайдужість і допомога. І ви добре це знаєте, бо зараз ви тут. Ніхто в Австралії з тих, хто надавав гуманітарну допомогу, хто познайомився із нашими вимушеними переселенцями, вже не скаже, що Україна десь там далеко. Не скажуть цього і українці за кордоном, українська громада, які тут живуть з думкою про дім. І ніхто в Україні, хто отримував допомогу Австралії гуманітарно, технічно, морально, не скаже, що ви від нас далеко. Ми з вами близько. Ми на відстані небайдужості, на відстані добра, на відстані розуміння, що чужої біди в сучасному світі не буває. І поновлюючи десь справедливість і безпеку, ми робимо кращим весь світ і себе самих. Дякую за це важливе розуміння Австралії і кожному її жителю. Дякую, зокрема, і від імені Фундації Олени Зеленської, через яку Україні допомагає багато іноземців, зокрема і австралійців. Разом ми побудували вже 3 будинки для великих прийомних родин, які втратили свої домівки через російську агресію. А отже, близько 30 дітей мають тепер дах над головою. Дякую вам за те, що допомагаєте нам відбудовувати нормальне життя для наших людей. І ми продовжуємо працювати. Адже у нашому фокусі ще відбудова лікарень, зведення нових будинків, відновлення укриттів і дитячих центрів та багато інших проєктів. Ще раз дякую за те, що ви поряд, друзі. Безпеки і процвітання Австралії, Україні і всім нашим людям. І принагідно вітаю з Днем Незалежності України. Дякую.
We would like to invite to the stage Mr. Dan Volody, President of the Ukrainian Council of New South Wales.
Thank you. Honourable Members of Parliament, diplomatic representatives, mayors, councillors, Reverend Fathers, and friends of Ukraine. Let me begin by thanking all the people without whose support we wouldn't be gathering in this wonderful town hall, particularly trying to put on such an ambitious program. Specifically, I thank the Lord Mayor of Sydney, Clover Moore, and her wonderful team here at the Town Hall, the Honourable Stephen Camper MP, Minister for Multiculturalism, Sport, Small Business, Lands and Property, and the team from Multicultural New South Wales, and the Karpata Foundation. These organisations have stood with Ukraine from the very beginning of the war. For this long-term support, Ukrainians in Australia and in Ukraine thank them because it literally means the world to them. It literally means survival on a day-to-day basis because in Ukraine it can be a very cruel world. And ultimately, it means victory and peace. Today's Independence Day commemoration focuses on courage, culture and freedom. You're about to experience what those words mean to Ukraine and understand why Ukraine hasn't been crushed by Russia in the last 3 years, as Putin said, nor in the past 400 years before that, and why so many Ukrainians give their lives in the fight for sovereignty and freedom. To start, I'd like to introduce the Honourable Steve Camper to say a few words.
Well, thank you and good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here with the amazing Ukrainian community for this very special day. I want to acknowledge Dan Volody, the President, Mr. Andrew Menchinsky, Vice President of the Ukrainian Council of New South Wales, and their hard-working team. I'd like to acknowledge Clover Moore, the Lord Mayor of Sydney, the City of Sydney, for assisting in today's event and for all the support, the historical support. My good friend Katerina Argyro, together with her beautiful son Andreas, Chair of Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organisations. Ms. Ruslana Daniklina, keynote speaker and combat veteran. Mr. Misha Zelinsky, a Fulbright scholar and national security expert, is contributing today. Alex Vinoko, founder of the United Ukrainian Appeal. Major General Mick Ryan, and importantly, Bevan Shields, the editor of the Sydney Morning Herald. It's really good to have him here and his ongoing support. Councillors, community leaders, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to join you this afternoon to commemorate Ukrainian Independence Day. Today is about celebrating culture, democracy, and freedom since Ukraine declared its independence from the former Soviet Union in 1991. Ukrainian courage has been tested to the limit since Russia's invasion in February 2022. And let me again reiterate that Australia supports Ukraine and the Ukrainian people as they fight to liberate their country from the Russian invasion. An invasion which is illegal, immoral and unprovoked. And Australia has contributed more than $1.3 billion towards important defence, economic and humanitarian assistance to the Ukraine. And just last month, Australia announced a $250 million military package of assistance. The Australian Defence Force helps train Ukrainian forces in the United Kingdom as part of an international effort, and this aid includes $85 million in humanitarian assistance to help meet the urgent needs of the Ukrainian people. Our objective is to help Ukraine end the war on its own terms. Now, friends, the unwavering commitment of Ukrainian Australians towards their brothers and sisters in Ukraine is absolutely inspirational. And you've raised funds to support needy children, to preserve your ancestral culture and traditions, and to fight for a lasting and just peace. Australia has welcomed 3,000 Ukrainians to Australia since the start of the war. And my agency, I proudly say, Multicultural New South Wales, continues to play a pivotal role in partnership with the Ukrainian community to help settle these new arrivals in New South Wales. And we need to and we will do more. And we continue to liaise with the Commonwealth Government to facilitate access to government support programs. For many of us who have grown up in Australia, it's difficult. It's truly difficult to comprehend the fear that comes with the outbreak of war and invasion. Sadly, this is the reality for those displaced by war and conflict. Through meeting members of the Ukrainian community, I have heard extraordinary tales of courage, survival, and resilience. So I thank the Ukrainian Council of New South Wales for organising today and for giving me the chance to again stand with the people of Ukraine. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now invite Ms. Victoria Stepanenko to perform the Ukrainian national anthem. Please be upstanding.
I am a young country with a 1,000-year history. I spent this year with you, with faith in my heart, whispering and shouting aloud to the world. Despite the difficulties, I have fought and won, never being alone. Together with you, I go through times of despair and anger, finding strength in unity and faith in the inevitable victory. Another year of strength, will, and resilience of the Ukrainian people, united as one, supporting each other in the most difficult moments. But at any moment, you and I breathe the same air, the air of freedom. The values we embody in our lives are more important than any titles and world records. Every day, we prove that together, we can achieve everything we want. This year is ours. The year of Ukrainian men and women, soldiers, officers, volunteers, bakers, and actors, mechanics and managers, and ordinary people. We are building a new history together. The Ukrainian sun is rising. My lands have been home to outstanding people since 5500 BC. It was then that the Tripilian culture, one of the oldest known cultures in Europe, first emerged. The Tripilians were distinguished by their advanced social organization and trade, developed agriculture, functional housing, and exquisite settlements. The remains of artifacts from that era, decorated with intricate geometric patterns and images of animals, are evidence of their flourishing art. From the 7th to the 15th centuries, we lived through the Middle Ages together. Our communities evolved significantly, forming societies with the foundations of political activity, economy, culture, and art. Tribes united under the leadership of strong leaders, creating the first state entities, such as the Antillean Union, Great Moravia, and Kievan Rus. In the 9th and 10th centuries, Kievan Rus became one of the most powerful states in Europe, uniting East Slavic tribes under the rule of Kievan lords. It played a crucial role in the political and cultural life of Europe, maintaining extensive trade ties with Byzantium, Western Europe, and the Middle East. Its power was based on princely dynasties and councils of elders, known as vice. Kievan Rus left a significant legacy in the form of architectural monuments, chronicles, and iconography that became the foundation of Ukrainian culture. In 988, Volodymyr the Great accepted Kievan Rus into the family of Christian states, which further united the people and elevated their culture.
Ой, вчора, вчора, із вечора пасла маланка два качора, пасла маланка два качора. Ой, пасла, пасла, загубила, пішла шукати, заблудила, пішла шукати, заблудила. Приблудилася в чистеє поле, а там Василько плугом оре, а там Василько плугом оре. Ой, оре, оре, жито сіє, а за ним жито зелене. Ой, оре, плуга заносить, він на маланку заглядає, та й на маланку заглядає. Ой, Черчику, Васильчику, посію тебе у горщику, посію тебе у горщику, буду я тебе поливати, потрижди на день проривати, потрижди на день проривати, потрижди на день проривати, за русу косу затикати, за русу косу затикати, за русу косу до волосся, щоб гарне жито зродилося, щоб гарне жито зродилося. Ой, вчора із вечора пасла маланка два качора, пасла маланка два качора.
Time passed, and one of the first democracies in the world, the Zaporizhia Sich, was born on my territory. We lived by the principles of equality and brotherhood. Our meetings, where we elected the hetman, were held at general councils, and every Cossack had the right to vote. In 1710, we issued the world's first written constitution. Our society valued courage, honesty, and mutual assistance. We created a center of culture and spirituality. Every Cossack was a master with a saber and firearms, and our flotillas on Chaika boats brought us many glorious victories.
All right.
This period was full of hard times and dangers. We often lost friends in battle, but we never betrayed our principles. Freedom was the highest value for us, and we were ready to give our lives for it. We left behind a significant legacy that lives on in the hearts of the Ukrainian people today. Our traditions, heroism, and love of our country continue to inspire new generations of Ukrainians to stand up for their freedom and fight for their independence.
Звідки Васю за Дунаю? Звідки Васю за Дунаю? Що чувати в чужім краю? Що чувати в чужім краю? Nic nie czuty, tylko wojna. Ukraina niespokojna. Wyszły Turki na te sznurki. Вийшли турки на три шнурки, та татари на чотири. så ska din avkräli. Na ty hori king turecki, na ty hori king turecki, na nim sидить syn królewski, na nim sидить syn królewski. Правій руці палаш держить, правій руці палаш держить. На палаші серце лежить, на палаші серце лежить.
My land has endured much pain, but the years 1932 to 1933 left an indelible scar on my heart. During that time, millions of my children perished from starvation. This was not merely a famine, it was a deliberate act of destruction. My fields, once abundant and generous, were emptied. People searched desperately for crumbs, eating grass, bark from trees, anything to survive. Villages became ghostly, families torn apart. I witnessed mothers losing their children as life slowly faded from the eyes of those I nurtured. It was a time of darkness that shrouded my lands. a shadow that seemed to erase the very essence of life. But the horrors did not end there. After this unimaginable suffering came yet another catastrophe: World War II. Once again, my cities and villages became battlegrounds. My sons and daughters marched to the front lines, fighting for freedom. They sacrificed their lives to protect me. Millions did not return home, and those who survived were left deeply wounded, not just in body, but in spirit as well. My soil wept once more, witnessing the destruction of homes, the terror of people fleeing from war. These trials left wounds that still bleed today, but I endured. The strength of my people, their faith, and their unbreakable spirit helped me to overcome these harrowing times. This experience is forever etched in my memory. I remember each soul who suffered, and every sacrifice made for the sake of the future. Their legacy is a reminder of my resilience, and it lives on in the hearts of those who call me home. During World War II, when my lands were ravaged by battles and occupations, my sons and daughters united to defend me. The Ukrainian Insurgent Army, UPA, was born in 1942 in my western regions. They became my defenders, fighting fiercely against both Nazi and Soviet oppressors for a free and sovereign nation. Their struggle was harsh, but they acted with unwavering faith. Hiding in forests, they organized guerrilla attacks and spread the truth among my people. Despite facing powerful armies, their spirit remained unbroken. Their heroism became the symbol of my resistance, leaving a lasting legacy for future generations to rise and defend me again.
Нехай душа моя тобі відродиться! Нехай душа моя тобі відродиться! Славою твоєю проміниться! Славою твоєю проміниться! Один присвята за життя моє! Один присвята за життя моє! Один все щастя моє! Один все щастя моє! Надзвони мені брязкотом кайдай! Надзвони мені брязкотом кайдай! Скрипавши мене цю понурі ради! Скрипавши мене цю понурі ради! Принеси мені зойки католок! Принеси мені зойки католок! У льохах, тюрмах і на засланні!
By the late 1980s, as the Soviet Union began to weaken, I felt that my time for liberation was approaching. My people grew bolder, and voices demanding sovereignty and the right to shape their own destiny began to rise. I remember those days vividly, when a wave of national revival spread across my land, and people once again took pride in their language, culture, and history. But the true struggle began in August 1991. When Soviet power started to waver, I knew the time had come. On August 24, 1991, my people chose independence. It was a historic day, the day when the centuries-old dream of my children finally became reality. I became a free nation, charting my own course. Yet independence is not just freedom. It is also a great responsibility. My people faced many challenges: building a new state, reforming the economy, defending our borders. Despite all these difficulties, I am proud that we stood strong and preserved our independence. After finally regaining independence, I began to flourish. My people built many amazing things and achieved glorious victories. They traveled around the world and learned from the experiences of others, while not forgetting their own history and culture. I became a modern, beautiful, and culturally rich country, populated by people who first and foremost value their freedom. My people kept fighting for freedom during 2 revolutions on Maidan. The fight for freedom continues to this day.
тоді проспіваю все те, що для мене співає. Ще як на провесні тут виграва. Мрії збираючи тут у гаю.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really honored to be here today and to sing this song because this is my original composition and it's based on a poem of Lesa Ukrainka. It's a really famous Ukrainian poet. And the next one is also a very famous Ukrainian song, and this is my arrangement. And also I want to briefly introduce the musicians. We have wonderful musicians today. I love those people, really. So we have Hugh Barrett on piano. We have Chris Buren on a double bass. And we have Steve Lee on a drum set.
One of the key secrets of resilience of my people is that everyone understood that they can make a difference and that their efforts, no matter how small, contribute to victory. When the Russian full-scale invasion broke out, some people took up arms and fought the aggressor on the front line. Others fundraised and volunteered. People outside of Ukraine helped with international diplomacy, volunteering and lobbying Ukraine's interests. Ukrainians around the world continue to work tirelessly, each doing what they can to bring victory closer.
So this event today is about the resilience, first of all, and about Ukraine, about this unbelievable force that Ukraine as country and Ukrainians as people have. And we all are trying to do our best to maintain our culture and to bring everything we have to help this war end. And my way of doing that is music, and the next composition, as I mentioned before, is a Ukrainian song. And for me, it's a wonderful thing that I can play a Ukrainian song in my native language with people who have no idea what am I singing about. They just know how to play it. They just know how to communicate through this wonderful language of music. And this is what I want to contribute for you today. Thank you. 1, 2, 3,
Цвіте терен, цвіте
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ilya. I'm an ordinary boy from Ukraine. I had a large loving family with grandparents, uncles, aunts, brothers and sisters. When we gathered together, even our big house couldn't contain our soul. It was true happiness. I had a best friend who was born just one day before me. I was born on October 20th, and he was born on October 20th. He lived only one day waiting for me, but I have lived without him for over 800 days. I had a dog named Rem, given to me by my grandparents. He was not just a dog, he was a true friend and companion in all my adventures. I had a cat named Joy, a floppy-eared British shorthair, gifted to me by my parents during COVID. I became his mum, and he became a member of our family. After COVID, my parents decided to show me Ukraine. In 1 year, we traveled to almost all the magical places of my homeland, from the eastern steppes to the southern seas, from northern forests, and each place was a real discovery. The enchanting Carpathians, the incredible waterfalls, the mysterious crystal caves, the historical Dobbush rocks, deserts, seas, thermal and mineral waters, and the cities in Ukraine. Ukraine is a country of incredible beauty and unique people. All these places fill my heart with pride and joy for my native land. But one day, the Russians destroyed my world. I will never forget February 24, 2022. My mom's frightened eyes, the explosions. Do you know what it's like when a shell hits your neighbor's house at 4 a.m. in the morning and you're on the 10th floor and you see that one of the floors is on fire? Even though just 2 days ago, you and your friend were leaving from the entrance and you were going sledding together. Was I scared? I don't know. There was no time to think about it. We had to leave the house quickly because the next hit could be ours. Mum kept trying to reach her relatives. Somehow, we reached the border. A huge line of cars stretched for 40 kilometers. We ran out of fuel and we had to leave our car near a gas station and walk on foot. It was snowing. Abandoned suitcases and belongings were lying on the roadsides because people couldn't carry them anymore. More than 11,000 people gathered at the border, mostly women and children. The border was closed. People were confused. It turned out later that Poland temporarily closed the border to organize a place for receiving Ukrainians. Some from the locals brought hot water and some food so the mothers could feed their babies. I didn't see these people, but I heard them. Panic is a terrible thing. People kept arriving and arriving. They started pushing hard. I was very afraid of losing my mum's hand. It was my only support and protection at that time. Later, in a Polish hospital, it turned out that I had broken a rib from that pressure. Just 1 week ago, in the Ukrainian school in Kiev, the teacher asked us what we dreamed about. Someone dreamed of a new phone, a scooter. I dreamed of a new decathlon bike for racing. I was a champion of Ukraine in cycling. Then, standing in the Polish hospital, I somehow remembered her question. At that moment, I dreamed that my relatives and loved ones would survive and be saved. Now, my biggest dream is for my relatives and loved ones who died in this war to be alive. I understand that this is impossible. My grandparents lived in the town of Siversk, Bakhmut district. This town is now completely destroyed, and many people close to me have died. There was a happy childhood. There was a best friend, grandparents. There was peace and joy. What is there now? Now, there is life. There is faith and victory. There is an opportunity to do something for victory. My peace in Ukraine now live in conditions of war. Every day, someone dies or gets seriously injured. Many have lost their parents, brothers and sisters, homes, schools, cities. Isn't there enough strength in the whole world to stop these crimes? Life in Australia is different. Sometimes it seems to me that I live two different lives. During the day, I go to school, study, attend various activities. But at night, when it's day in Ukraine, I live a life of Ukraine. Which city was bombed today? Because they bomb almost every day. How many died? How are the relatives who stayed? This is my story. Not every Ukrainian has a terrible story, but we have strength, unity, and unwavering faith in victory. Today is the Independence Day of Ukraine, and we thank our heroes who fight every day for our freedom, for our independence. The world must unite and help us defeat these Russians. We will stand, we will win. Glory to Ukraine.
Many of us gathered here today know at least someone who is currently fighting in Ukraine or who we have lost to Russia's unprovoked, barbaric, and brutal invasion of Ukraine. The Ukrainian courage and resilience to fight such an aggressor is inspirational.
Ruslana Danilkina is one of them. At just 18 years old, Ruslana volunteered to join the territorial defense of Ukraine following the full-scale Russian invasion, embodying the bravery and determination of young Ukrainians. She was assigned to a communications unit as a radio operator on the front line in Kherson in early 2023.
It was during one of these missions that Ruslana's vehicle came under heavy fire, with a cluster munition destroying her car and left leg. Today, Ruslana works at the Superhumans Center, a modern rehabilitation center for adults and children in Ukraine. Please welcome the unbreakable Rusia.
Дякую, дякую.
Thank you.
Я рада вас сьогодні всіх тут вітати. Сьогодні для нас дуже зворушливий день. День Незалежності України.
I'm happy to greet you all here today. Today is a very touching day, the day of independence of Ukraine.
Але, на жаль, Україна досі продовжує боротися та виборювати свою незалежність так само, як це робили наші пращури.
But unfortunately, Ukraine keeps fighting for our independence the same way as our ancestors did.
Історія України сповна боротьби та сміливості. Моя історія почалась 24 лютого 22 року.
The history of Ukraine is filled with fight and courage. My history began on the 24th of February 2022.
На початку повномасштабного вторгнення я прийняла рішення та долучилася до Збройних сил України.
At the beginning of the full-scale invasion, I made a decision to join the armed forces of Ukraine.
Я зібрала речі та поїхала в інший куточок країни для того, щоб почати військову службу.
I packed my things and came to another corner of the country to start my military service.
Я мала би сидіти в тилу та перекладати папери, але вирішила порушити всі правила і поїхати на першу лінію зіткнення. Тоді мені було лише 18.
I was supposed to just do paperwork at the rear, but I decided to break all the rules and go to the very front line, to the line of combat engagement. At that time, I was just 18.
Моя робота там полягала бути оператором-зв'язківцем, тобто вухами тієї війни.
My work there was to be a communications operator
thus being the ears of that war.
В таке життя важко повірити. Життя під землею, життя під обстрілами, життя в підвалах.
It is hard to imagine this kind of life, a life in dugouts, a life in basements, a life under shellings.
Щодня ми втрачаємо наших побратимів, щодня ми втрачаємо наших людей, щодня ми втрачаємо українців.
Every day we are losing our comrades. Every day we are losing our people. Every day we are losing Ukrainians.
Після 8 місяців такої служби нас направили на інший напрямок – місто під назвою Херсон.
After 8 months of this service, we were transferred to another direction, to a city called Kherson.
На нього було боляче дивитись. Місто, в якому живуть діти, місто, в якому живуть люди, місто, яке щодня потрапляє під ворожі обстріли.
It was painful to see it, a city where kids lived, a city where peaceful civilians lived, a city that came under enemy shelling every day.
В один із таких спекучих днів ранило і мене з побратимами. Ми їхали до командного пункту, але потрапили під заборонений касетний обстріл.
It was one of those intense days when my comrades and I got injured. We were on our way to a command post when we were caught under shelling by forbidden cluster munitions.
Мене чудом врятували, і я відправилась на лікування. Але скажу чесно, продовжувати життя я не хотіла, тому що просто не бачила в цьому сенсу.
I was sent to undergo treatment, but honestly, I will tell you that I didn't want to undergo this treatment because I didn't see any purpose of continuing to live.
Щодня до шпиталю потрапляло все більше військових. Люди без ніг, люди без рук, люди без зору. Саме це змусило мене почати боротися за своє життя.
Every day, more and more servicemen were hospitalized. People without legs, people without arms, people who got blinded. This made me think about it and start to decide to fight for my life.
Після загоєння своїх ран я вирішила шукати протезувальний центр. Саме так почалася моя історія з Superhumans.
After my injuries healed, I started to look for a prosthetics center, and this is where my history with Superhumans begins.
Я готувалась до нового життя в той час, коли вони готувались до свого відкриття.
I was preparing for my new life when they were preparing for their opening.
Я приїхала до них на знайомство, а повернулась додому вже з першим механічним коліном.
I came to them just to get acquainted, and I returned home with my first mechanical knee.
Щоразу, повертаючись до центру Superhumans, я бачила вже не тільки військових, я бачила дітей, я бачила цивільних людей, я бачила людей літнього віку, які так само починають жити нове життя.
Every time when I returned to the Superhumans Center, I saw different people. I saw men, women, children, elderly people who were just like me starting their new life.
Саме тоді я вирішила показати себе світу. Я хотіла, щоб всі ці люди знали, що вони не самі, що в них є підтримка і що нас, на жаль, багато.
It was then when I decided that I had to show myself to the world. I understood that there were many people like me, and they needed support. And unfortunately, there were really many of us.
Саме так я доєдналася до команди центру Superhumans і наразі допомагаю всім нашим пацієнтам відновлюватися та починати жити нове, яскраве та щасливе життя.
So I joined the Superhumans Center, and now I am helping our patients to rehabilitate and to start living their new life, to learn how to start their new life.
Зараз я хочу, щоб ви побачили нашу силу, нашу витримку і наше бажання волі до нового життя. Будь ласка.
Now I want you to see our courage, our resilience, and our willpower for a new life. Please take a look at the screen.
while they continue destroying. We are getting stronger every day. Every step makes small wins. Our strength is in hugs and love. Not only we are fighting for our right to exist, we live. We love. We inspire and we get inspired. We win. For we are superhumans.
Дякую. Superhuman Center – це протезно-реабілітаційний центр.
Superhuman Center is a prosthesis rehabilitation center.
Так було на самому початку. Нам знадобився рік для того, щоб почати надавати такі послуги, як протезування, реабілітація, психологічна підтримка, реконструктивна хірургія обличчя, відновлення слуху і, що не менш важливо, освіта.
It took us a year to start providing such services as rehabilitation, prosthetics, psychological support, facial reconstruction surgery, hearing support, and most importantly, education.
Superhuman Center працює за підтримкою першої леді України та міністра охорони здоров'я України.
Superhuman Center works with the support of the First Lady of Ukraine and the Minister for Health of Ukraine.
Що важливо, Superhumans не залучає державних коштів, тому що ми вважаємо, що всі державні кошти мають бути спрямованими на підтримку Збройних сил.
Importantly, Superhuman Center does not get funded by the government because we think that the government funds have to go to support the armed forces of Ukraine.
Ми працюємо за допомогою українських, закордонних фондів та бізнесів.
We are supported by Ukrainian and international foundations and businesses.
Superhuman – це перший стартап в світі. Він знаходиться в Україні, у місті Львів.
Superhumans is the first startup of this kind in the world. It is located in Lviv.
Але на цьому ми не збираємось зупинятися. Наступні міста чекають як Одеса та Дніпро. Ми хочемо, щоб всі наші люди були впевнені, що в будь-якому куточку України їм зможуть надати їх любу підтримку.
But we are not going to stop there. We are planning to open our centers in many other cities like Dnipro and Odessa. We want our people to know that no matter where they are, no matter what part of our country they are in, they can get our support and care.
Зараз я хочу вас познайомити з CEO Superhumans Оля Руднєва.
Now we would like to introduce you to CEO of Superhumans, Oля Rudneva.
Greetings from Ukraine, from Superhuman Center. I'm Olga Rudneva, CEO of Superhumans. It's a center for prosthetic rehabilitation, psychological support, and facial reconstruction for those people who got trauma due to the war. We are here bringing back people, their lost abilities to walk, to go back to normal life, to hug their friends, and to play football with their children. With international support, we can do a lot of things. We can provide more people with prosthesis. We can provide psychological support to the families of those who suffered from the trauma, and we can bring back people to their normal life, to their families, and to society. Very often we say that Ukraine is a very strong nation, and superhumans prove that on a daily basis because we see our superhumans conquer the mountains, do golf, swimming, and winning sport games. We're definitely a very brave nation. We can win this war, but we cannot win without external support. So we really appreciate every kind of help that we can get from people around us. And please remember, everything you do for Ukraine, you do for people who fight for their independence and who fight for the world. Thank you very much for your support, and hope to see you one day in Superhumans and have an opportunity to present you to our brave, amazing patients and superhumans of Ukraine. Thank you.
Зараз я твердо стою на своїх двох ногах завдяки Superhuman центру.
Now I firmly stand on my two legs due to Superhuman Center.
Більшої впевненості мені надає моє електронне коліно Genium X3, яке коштує понад 80 тисяч євро.
Even more confidence is provided to me by my electronic prosthesis, which costs around 80,000 euros.
За офіційною статистикою, людей в Україні з ампутаціями понад 50 тисяч.
According to official statistics, there are over 50,000 people with amputations in Ukraine.
За неофіційною, ця кількість людей подвоюється.
According to the unofficial statistics, this number is doubled.
Я мрію, аби кожна людина, чиє тіло зазнало поранень і наслідків цієї жахливої війни, так само могла почуватися впевнено та знати, що вона не одна.
I want every person that got scarred as a consequence of this horrible war knew that they are not alone and that there is help for them.
Після нашої перемоги нас чекає велика робота.
After a victory, a big volume of work awaits us.
Відновлення наших життів, відновлення наших міст та будинків, психологічна адаптація наших ветеранів, робота з нашим цивільним населенням.
Restoring our lives, restoring our buildings and cities, rehabilitation of our servicemen, and rehabilitation and support of the civilian population.
Я вірю в нашу перемогу, я вірю в нашу справу, я вірю в вашу підтримку. І головне, що я вірю, що наступний День Незалежності ми будемо святкувати в своїй країні з повністю нашими всіма кордонами. Дякую.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for a minute of silence as we pay our respects and reflection on their courage and dedication.
I am a young country with a 1,000-year history. I've been through a lot. Some wanted to break me, others wanted to destroy me. Yet all this time there were people behind me who defended me and who will continue defending me. Soldiers, medics, firefighters, IT professionals, teachers, children, and many others who have been fighting for me around the world. I will continue to exist as long as they exist and resist. My people are my most treasured assets. With their help, the Ukrainian sun will rise. Enemies will be defeated, and my wounds will heal.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're delighted to say a big thank you to the remarkable individuals without whom this event would not have been possible. Our talented performers, dancer Maria Borosiak from Primal Management Agency, singer Julia Schwed, singer George Korovitsky and Fechtschule Sankt Peter, Ilya Kirichenko, artist Tatiana Koldunenko, pianist Victoria Stepanenko, our special guest from Ukraine, Ruslana Danilkina, and her interpreter, Lisa Marian. We would also like to extend our sincere thanks to the Linsa Agency from Ukraine for their outstanding video production work.
A special recognition goes to our organising committee, whose dedication and hard work brought this event to life. Dan Volody, Andrew Mensinski, Olya Olhovik, Anton Bogdanovich, Marta Artemenko, Anton Lozbin, Katerina Argeru, and Maria Kurenkova. The minute silence will now begin.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be moving to a panel discussion on the reconstruction of Ukraine and Australia's role in this process. We introduce to the panel from the Australian Army, retired Major General Mick Ryan, AM.
Chair of the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organisations, Ms. Katerina Argeru.
National security expert and columnist for the Australian Financial Review, Mr. Misha Zelinsky.
Founder and CEO of Beta Shares, Mr. Alex Vinokur.
And our panel moderator, Mr. Bevan Shields, the editor of the Sydney Morning Herald.
We are shit.
Yeah.
Please welcome the panelists.
Sorry, we were too busy talking out the back. Thank you. My name is Bevan Shields. I'm the editor of the Sydney Morning Herald, and it really is a privilege for me to be here today and to mark Ukrainian Independence Day with you all, and to have a discussion with this great panel. Just before we start, I'd just like to, I guess, note how proud I am of the Herald's coverage of the invasion and the war and the remarkable effort of the Ukrainian people. We've had reporters and photographers on assignment in Ukraine multiple times during the war. We've also had people like Mick Ryan in our opinion pages frequently. And we've also taken a very strong editorial line that while the Australian support so far for Ukraine is good and is welcome, and I'm sure is helping, that we are a wealthy and prosperous country, and that we could be doing a lot more for the Ukrainian people. And that's something that the Herald is going to be committed to prosecuting over the months and, if necessary, years ahead. So, thank you. So we might start with Mick. Mick, can you just give us a general overview of the status and the logic, I guess, of the incursion into Kursk, and give a sense of what impact this might have on the war?
Sure. Firstly, it's not an incursion, it's an attack. It was a deliberately planned attack by the Ukrainians, and the reason they did that is because they've looked at where the war is. They've seen that NATO isn't changing its strategy of defend Ukraine for as long as it takes. That's actually not working for Ukraine. They've seen that the US administration is not going to change its policy anytime soon, that the Russians aren't going to change their policy of attempting to extinguish the sovereignty and culture of Ukraine. So there's only one actor that can actually change the status quo of the war, and that's Ukraine. So they've taken a pretty big swing. It's the kind of audacious action that I think most Western countries can't understand or appreciate anymore, because we've had a pretty lovely risk-free slumber for 30 years. So it's risky, it's very risky, but it's the kind of risk that Ukraine needs to take if it's going to change the trajectory of the war and wake up Western politicians so that they help Ukraine win this war more quickly, because there's both a humanitarian and a strategic imperative to do so.
You just used an interesting term there, to wake up Western politicians. Why are they asleep?
Well, I think it's kind of a learned behaviour since the end of the Cold War. I mean, we haven't really faced existential threats. We've faced threats. I mean, 9/11 was a threat, but it wasn't existential. Ukraine is facing an existential threat, and when you have that kind of threat to the existence of your nation and people, you think very differently. We're not used to that, and we need to rediscover that art, because, you know, democracy is pretty precious and it has to be protected. It won't be here forever if we just sit back and take it for granted.
And Mick, you've been here. And just moving from the fight to the potential or the inevitable reconstruction, you've been to lots of conferences, meetings where this is discussed, and you've probably got a good sense of where this is at globally now. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I actually commanded the first reconstruction task force in Afghanistan. So, you know, we're a country that has a lot of experience with these things, but the World Bank's last estimate is that there's about $500 billion of reconstruction required in Ukraine, from private homes all the way through to schools, large civil infrastructure, power plants, these kind of things. It's probably higher now. There is a World Bank Ukraine Reconstruction Trust Fund that's been established. Many countries have contributed. Japan's given about $10 billion. Australia has not yet contributed to that, unfortunately. I think it should. But, I mean, this is a trust fund that's designed to start rebuilding Ukraine now. Ukraine can't wait to rebuild schools. Kids need to go to school now. It can't wait to rebuild power stations or roads or bridges. This is a functioning country that needs reconstruction to start now. It's starting now. And rich nations like Australia should play their role in helping Ukraine rebuild itself, not just with finances, but with advice. We know about rebuilding places after big disasters. I think we also have intellectual property that we can help Ukraine with as well.
Perhaps it would probably make sense for us to send you over for a stint, perhaps, to offer some advice.
Well, we do need an ambassador in Kiev. I'm not saying... But I find it hard to imagine that the Department of Foreign Affairs would like someone like me working for them.
No, that's a bridge too far. Katerina, how well placed do you think Australia is to contribute to the reconstruction effort, and what could that look like for us?
I think, first of all, before I start, I want to thank each and every single one of you for being such a strong advocate for Ukraine, because our community here is small, 52,000 people of Ukrainian descent, but to have Australians here rooting for us, speaking on our behalf, and keeping Ukraine in the headlines, helping with humanitarian aid, helping by actually going there and visiting, writing about it, it means a huge deal, not only to us Ukrainians here in Australia, but to Ukrainians in Ukraine. So thank you.
Thank you.
In terms of your question, in terms of reconstruction, I think Australia has a lot of potential. First of all, we need to finish the war on Ukraine's terms, as many politicians state here. As a representative of the Ukrainian community, I don't know how many times I've been to Canberra, met with state politicians, federal politicians, to beg and ask for that aid. And it's not just charity, it's an investment into Ukraine winning and keeping a democracy alive. And I think that's very much in line with Australian values. So that's first and foremost. We need to make sure that Ukraine gets the aggressor off Ukrainian land. In terms of reconstruction and rebuilding, Australia has a lot of potential in terms of getting institutional money involved, getting Australian expertise. Just when we were looking at forming the Australia-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, we looked at common things between Australia and Ukraine, and there are a lot of industries that overlap. Agriculture is an area that Ukraine can benefit from Australia's expertise. Australia can also benefit from Ukraine's expertise. IT is an area where we could potentially work. There's no barrier stopping that. And there, for example, infrastructure. This is where we can get corporate and institutional funds involved. There's Twiggy Forrest, Andrew Forrest has announced a big fund that he's looking to invest in Ukraine once the bullets stop flying. So there's definitely a lot of interest and expertise in Australia that could be directed to Ukraine. We just need to make sure that the war stops first. So whether it's road building or bridge building, we've already had people, even though the war's going on, had people from industry reach out to the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organizations asking, how can we get in touch with local partners? How can we get in touch with the Ukrainian government? How can we visit Ukraine to see what's happening on the ground? Because this is a long-term project that will require a lot of investment and for a long period of time. And it doesn't have to be charity. There could be real money made there from an investment perspective. So I think we definitely should explore that a lot more.
Is your sense from your discussions in Canberra and through the organisation as well that, I mean, is corporate Australia more engaged here than government, or is that pushing it?
I wouldn't say it's pushing it. We have very prominent businessmen from Australia. You have one sitting here with us right now that are very keen to invest in Ukraine. They're very loud in terms of saying what needs to be done in order to create that landscape and basically set the stage for the investment. And money will talk. If you have some of the biggest fund managers, some of the most astute businessmen saying that they see Ukraine as an area that they are interested in investing in and an opportunity which they would like to pursue, then I think the Australian government really does have a role to play here where they can help set that stage and help pave the path where corporate Australia can step in and take it from there.
And Alex, I mean, you're obviously one of those leading business figures who is involved in this, and congratulations to you. Look, corruption in some Ukrainian business is well documented, but are you seeing signs that is changing and that maybe the oligarchs can be governed? And do you see a new generation of business figures coming through to lead at the end of the war?
Yeah, look, there's quite a few things to unpack here. First and foremost, I was born in Ukraine. My family immigrated to Australia 30 years ago, and in the 30 years, a lot of things have changed in Ukraine, but some things have not, as you were alluding to. Reconstruction of Ukraine, which is obviously sort of what we're discussing here. From my perspective, it's a generational opportunity for Ukraine to take a very strong and a very clear path into the future. And I think reconstruction of Ukraine is certainly not just a charity. It is about investment. It's investment from the rest of the world into the future of Ukraine. I think there are some really important ingredients. Number one, Ukrainian people. I think the grit, determination, the fight, the spirit. I mean, Ukrainian people have now earned an incredible amount of goodwill from the world. So Ukraine itself is incredibly well placed in terms of the goodwill from the rest of the world to really benefit strongly from the time of reconstruction. But as you pointed out, what is required, and that is really a condition precedent for any meaningful investment, whether it's government help or whether it's private individuals or corporates investing, is really cleaning up the act on corruption. We all love Ukraine, but it's also important, especially with the ones you love most, to be honest and realistic about the situation. Ukraine is still suffering from corruption, and there is a great need to make sure that the future of Ukraine is really very clearly delineated from the past. There are some phenomenal examples. I mean, if you look at Poland, Poland, obviously bordering Ukraine, had the same, sort of communist influence, basically, for decades, for generations, basically. And Poland has completely transformed itself. There are several other examples that I can cite, which are of similar nature. If you look at Poland, right now, Poland is on a path by 2030 to overtake the United Kingdom in GDP per capita. That is an incredible statistic. And if you look at Ukraine, again, I'm very proud, I can talk about it for the whole day, but Ukraine, obviously, the landmass is immense. It's the largest, sort of country, obviously, in Europe in terms of landmass. If you look at the education level of Ukrainian people, Ukrainian people are some of the most educated in the world. If you look at the percentage with secondary and tertiary.
It's something like 70%, is that
indeed,
accurate?
Indeed, yeah. Exactly right. So it's incredibly highly educated population. It's already got experience of dealing with Western countries. As Katerina was mentioning, for example, IT, and IT outsourcing is a very significant industry already, or has been, sort of prior, to what's started to happen over the last few years. But there are some really important foundations to be building upon. But I agree wholeheartedly that stamping out corruption and making sure that the country can face into a very clear and very exciting future is absolutely paramount.
Are you worried that the corruption risk may be deployed as an excuse from some countries or some organisations not to properly invest or not to properly contribute to the reconstruction effort? Like, clearly it is an issue, but do you think it can also be used to not do what people should be doing?
Look, I think where there's a will, there's a way, and I think there is genuinely a lot of will. There's a lot of goodwill. I think when money starts arriving in Ukraine for reconstruction projects, that money will have conditions attached. And one of the key conditions is making sure that there is transparency about how the money is spent. Every organization that's operating in Ukraine today is aware of the fact that there is a need to watch how the money is spent. That is certainly the case for the charity that I'm involved with directly, United Ukrainian Appeal. There is a case with a lot of other charities that are operating in Australia and globally. Oversight is going to be important, but again, the country will be exceptionally well placed to take those steps, and there's no shortage of expertise. Again, just thinking about Australia, yes, we can assist financially, and we will invest, no doubt, but at the same time, we have incredible standards of corporate governance. We have experts that can be leveraged. And of course, there are Australian experts, and there are some people around the world who will be doing the same. So I'm ultimately exceptionally positive and optimistic that Ukraine's future is going to be very different, to what has been experienced for a long time.
Misha, congratulations on your excellent reporting from Ukraine, even though you were filing to the wrong newspaper. It was,
Same company, same company.
It was exceptional. Look, there's obviously a massive piece of work around the physical reconstruction of Ukraine. But in terms of human capital, do you think Western leadership really has come to terms with the need for a plan that will bring displaced people back to Ukraine to contribute to that effort?
Well, I think when you're talking about reconstruction of Ukraine, you're talking about two things. I say it's like people and peace, right? And so whether or not when we're rebuilding the nation, you've got to have certainty. And so people need certainty of return, right, to a nation that's safe and secure. And if you're applying investment dollars there, you need to have some confidence in the sovereign risk. Now, I sit on the board of Australian Super, so it's a big super fund, and we deploy capital around the world. I should also say that I made those remarks in my own personal capacity. Don't come ask me for a loan. But when you talk about people, I'm actually, and I share Alex's and maybe your points around the corruption risks. But in all my time in Ukraine there, I'm very long on Ukrainians, because when you look at the generational divide, I think there's really kind of big schism between those who were born or came of age after the fall of the Soviet Union, and a real sort of entrepreneurial flair amongst those people, and a very clear determination that they don't want to go back. Now, clearly there are still people there that have what I would deem more a Soviet mindset, and Ukraine, given its position and given its history, has always been caught a little bit between its Western leanings and its the Eastern prison of Russian domination. And so, when you see young people in Ukraine, you can't help but be inspired about how innovative and brilliant they are. And one of the weird sort of, an unexpected benefit of the first invasion of 2014, when Russia seized a lot of Ukraine's productive capacity in the east, Ukrainians kind of had to respond, obviously militarily, but also through economic policy. They spent a lot of money training up IT tech specialists. And so there's a huge wave of innovative young people in that country that don't want to go back. And the opportunity now is almost, when a country fights for its freedom, there's a different view of the world. In Australia, we're very casual about freedom. Look at the way Americans think about it. They had to kick the British out at the time, the most powerful nation in the world. They threw them out, and they're very kind of like it's indelibly linked to that nation, of their freedom story. And Ukrainians have a similar crucible that they're going through and a similar opportunity. So in terms of that, that's the people question. And I think another hidden benefit, right? Again, these things, they're awful, but there's a hidden benefit. The amount of Ukrainians that are coming of age right now in Western democracies and learning how those nations work, when they come home, they're not going to want to go back to a Soviet-style system. They're going to say, no, we want to be like the world. We've seen the way the world is. The scales have fallen from our eyes. We want a world and a Ukraine that looks like that. And so coming to the question around investment, you need an investment-grade peace. Now, clearly we all want peace. And, from where I sit, I want the Russians thrown out all the way back to Moscow and then some, right? And that's, I think, what we need to see. But in terms of an investment-grade peace, if the bombs stop falling tomorrow, but there's a sense that they might start falling the day thereafter, how can you deploy capital into a project that requires a 30, 40, 50-year return horizon if you're talking about ports or roads and rail? And they're the types of things that super funds or pension funds would invest in. You've got to believe that it's going to be secure long-term, that the Russians won't start again. So that's why it's so vital that whatever the peace is, that it's a peace that involves Ukraine and Europe and Ukraine and NATO, because that will provide the certainty that it won't happen again. That's how you get that investment-grade certainty for private capital. Government capital will come in. Western nations will contribute to that rebuild that Mick talked about. But if you want private capital, and that's what we really need, we need people like Alex having the confidence to invest their money, then you need that certainty. So we need peace, we need investment-grade peace, and that's why before we send our dollars, we've got to send our weapons.
I'll ask you. I'll ask a sort of a question, and anyone can jump in, or several of you if you like. But there's a push at the moment in Australia and in other countries to not just seize Russian assets, but to confiscate them and to use some of those funds or all those funds towards the reconstruction effort. Now, there's no mechanism for that in Australia at the moment. I just wonder, clearly that's something we should do. I just wonder whether you think that's something that ever will happen, and what it would take for that to happen. Maybe Mick?
Well, there's always a mechanism to make things happen. It's called the Parliament. And it has legislators who write a law.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they'd have bipartisan support and they could get it through pretty quickly.
Yep.
There's no lack of lawmaking ability.
Done it, right?
There's a heap of lack of will to actually do this. So can we do it? Yes. Do we want to? Ask the politicians in Canberra.
Yeah. Well, if we won't spend our own money, we may as well spend Putin's, I reckon. But,
Exactly.
What do you...
But to that point, we've actually had a letter that was signed by many prominent Australians, 2 former prime ministers, and that went to the Australian government saying that, and the AFEO that I represent, the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organizations, also signed that letter advocating for the Australian government to consider to seize Russian assets. We haven't received a response yet, but to Mick's point, if there's a will, there's a way. All we need is just a little bit of political will.
Indeed.
So if you're on a right to your local federal representative, ask them to do this as one of the many things they should be doing for us.
And there are nations doing it. There are nations that have passed laws. We were a laggard in Magnitsky's legislation. Now we've enacted it. We're a bit of a laggard here on this, but there are nations that are taking a freezing to seizing approach, and I think it's wise. The Russians should pay for what they're doing.
In fact, the Czech Republic has just announced a major initiative to freeze their assets, use the interest to buy weapons for Ukraine. Beautiful.
Well, the closer you are to Russia, the more you realise the threat. And so those small nations are very brave, and we can definitely step up also. Yeah.
We're getting close to time. It's flown, but I just want to ask a couple more, and probably everyone. President Zelensky has said that investment in Ukraine right now in the fight is an investment in all the obvious things, protecting democracy, the global order, global security. Just how would you sum up, very succinctly, what investment in the reconstruction means and what's in it for the West in that? Because there's clearly an argument for the West now in terms of investment in containing this, in defeating Putin. What's in it for the West around what comes next?
I might just jump in. I mean, look, we won the Cold War not because we had the better ideas that we did. People didn't read Karl Marx and read Jefferson and said, well, actually, Jefferson's got the better argument. They said West Berlin, which is a fundamentally better place than East Berlin, which is kind of shitty, and people voted with their feet. And so why does Putin fear Ukraine? Because a free, thriving, democratic, Western-leaning Ukraine might just give Russians an idea of what the world might look like. And so for us, the opportunity is to prove that democracy works, that free societies work, and that people are having the right to choose their own future, and their nations having the right to shape their own future works. And so if that nation delivers for people in a way that reflects the type of society that we have in Australia, that's an enormous shining beacon for us to build. So it's a message of hope, not just for Ukrainians, but for the rest of the world that don't have the freedom to choose, but can understand that, you know what, this is not just something for the Americans or for the Australians or for the Brits, it's for Ukrainians and for everybody. And I think that is the threat to the Russians, but it's the opportunity for us.
It's hard to be as eloquent as Misha, I totally agree.
Oh, you're pretty good here.
I just simply say to add a little bit on top of that, democracies aren't just built on doing the lawful thing, they're built on doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I actually think helping Ukraine is just simply the right thing for us to do.
I will only add, a couple of things. First and foremost, from my perspective, investment in Ukraine for the Western world, it's actually an investment in innovation and an investment into the future. I mean, a lot of the talk about rebuilding, I mean, it's very important, but it's also important that we will not be simply rebuilding, the bricks and mortar that was there today. The telephone system does not have to be rebuilt with poles and wires anymore. There's an opportunity to skip a generation. And my sense is that Ukraine will turn into an incredible hotbed of innovation for the world. We're already starting to see with the drones, the drone fair, Ukraine's already a hotbed for testing a lot of technology. And the world is going to be able to benefit from that. And I think the resilience that Ukrainian people are demonstrating day in and day out, I mean, just imagine how that resilience, how that hunger and willingness to survive and ultimately thrive as a nation is going to be translated into great things once peace comes.
Yeah.
I think investing in Ukraine now and in Ukraine's peace and winning Ukraine is investing in global security and market stability. I look at markets on a daily basis and I can see what Russia's invasion to Ukraine has done for market stability. We have seen interest rates shoot up. We have seen inflation go up, cost of living go up. So from a selfish point of view, to get rid of all those things, you need some sort of market stability, and global security is part of that. So I would definitely say that it's would be investing in global security and market stability. But also, having done a lot of advocacy and speaking to our displaced Ukrainians and speaking to our frontline troops on a daily basis in Ukraine, I honestly feel that by helping Ukraine now, it's standing on the right side of history. People will look back at this, and helping Ukraine win now is to be in the right place, on the right side of history, and helping light win over darkness.
Okay, in our...
Bevan, can I ask you a question? And again, I'm asking a question on behalf of so many Ukrainians. What can we as a community do to get more prominence with Australian media?
Yeah, it's a really good question. One thing I did want to say earlier was that, as part of our coverage, I can't thank enough the members of the Ukrainian community in Sydney and in Australia, but also people living in Ukraine who have spoken to us. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a big thing. The media can be quite cavalier, to be honest, about going and asking people to tell their story. It can be an incredibly huge moment for that person to decide to do that and to have the trust in the media to be able to tell their story. So for all those people who have, I do thank them sincerely. I think the huge risk at the moment is because of what's going on in the Middle East. Because of the US election, ironically, given the potential implications for Ukraine out of the election, that it, and I don't mean to be flippant here, but it is a little bit out of sight, out of mind, and that's clearly unacceptable, but that is the truth. I think the best thing that the media can do is get to Ukraine more often. Now that's incredibly tricky, to be honest, because it's unbelievably expensive, and I won't bore people, but it's not a simple case of you send a reporter and a journalist. You have to send full-time security for 3 weeks, guides and other people to support you. It's, well, not Misha just goes.
I just go by myself. I buy a train ticket.
Yeah, but you're a film with General Mick. You're like G.I. Joe going in there, right? But
so I'm certainly not making excuses. I'm trying to just provide the context. But that means for us to go for a 3-week trip to Ukraine, that's probably $150,000 to $200,000, which is obviously a substantial amount of money. So I would say the more people can be willing to tell their story, share their story, tell us about things that we don't know about, that we haven't seen. I mean, we were talking just backstage earlier, which is why we were late, sorry, about an amazing initiative that you are coordinating in Ukraine. We need to know that. So I would say hassle the media and hassle them and be relentless. Anyone can email me or get in touch with me at the Herald. I think you really have to stay on the media's case. But I do think the most potent and powerful storytelling is in Ukraine, and it's on the media, including us, to make sure that we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and that we don't get distracted by one particular issue or event, that we can do it all. But my honest advice is hassle us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, I think on behalf of all of us here, no doubt, I will express my gratitude, obviously, to everything you're doing, and a number of other Australian publications, including your sister company, the AFR, have been doing incredible moral clarity, strong support, and for everybody in this hall, and for so many Australians of Ukrainian background, Ukrainian Australians, Ukrainians who reside in Australia.
Yep.
That support means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. I think the only other thing, sorry, then we'll wrap up here, I promise. The only other thing I just wanted to make a note of was that the other part of our coverage and what the media should be doing, which is holding the government, the Australian government and decision makers to account, is incredibly important, and it's a real slog because nobody wants to talk. Of course they don't want to talk about it, they're not doing anything, so nobody wants to talk. But that is absolutely on us to make sure we rise above the day-to-day politics and to push people as often as we can. And I guess in terms of your question about what can people do, anyone who also wants to talk about that lack of support and the case for more support, we'd be always keen to hear from. I'll just wrap up. We've probably got about a minute left. In an ideal world, we'll be here this time next year, and there's been victory, and we won't have to have some of the discussions that we have now. But with the future uncertain, I just want to ask each of you for a small prediction about what you think may unfold, either in Ukraine or in terms of Australian involvement with Ukraine over the next 12 months.
What should Australia's involvement be? Well, we should spend more than 2 days' worth of the defence budget on supporting Ukraine.
Yep. I'm gonna insist you answer the question, Mick. What's your prediction around whether that will happen or not?
Low likelihood, unfortunately.
Yep. Katerina?
I'm hoping that all our effort, all our letter writing, knocking on members of Parliament's doors, senators, ministers, that they will hear our plea to send the very least, which is decommissioned equipment that is currently standing in warehouses in Australia, of no use to Australia, but could be saving lives on the front line in Ukraine.
Alex?
Look, Australia is doing more, but Australia can do a lot more. There's no question about it. So I think we all need to work together to, apply more pressure, and really, back to my point before, just really make sure that Ukraine does not end up, out of the newspaper, basically, because you said it quite rightly, out of sight, out of mind. That is the biggest, that is the biggest risk. So my hope for the next 12 months is that we really maintain Ukraine's presence basically in front of everybody's eyes.
Indeed. Misha?
Well, I think Putin's playing for time, but I think his calculation was that Donald Trump was going to win the election. I don't believe that he will. And I think that when that happens, Putin's going to be out of time. Fundamentally, the world, if it's a fight of Russia versus Ukraine, then wars are determined not just by bravery but by industrial bases, and it's a very tough fight. But when you look at Ukraine plus the free world, Russia is completely outboxed and outsized. And so if we do what we need to do and we make sure that we send what we need to send, and if you're an Australian and you never want to see a tank ever be used anywhere near our region, then the best thing to do is to send them to Ukraine. It's not charity, it's national security policy. And so Ukrainians, there's no shortage of bravery, there's no shortage of innovation. We're seeing what they're doing now in Kursk. There's a shortage of weapons. If you give Ukraine what it needs in a fair fight, they will win.
Well, that I'm sure people are tearing their hair out the back because we're over time, but that is us. As I said at the start, an incredible pleasure and privilege to be here. Thank you to all four of you for offering your time and your insights. Thank you to all of you for being here, and enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to our panel for their insights. It is now our great honor to introduce someone who has shown immense courage and dedication in the face of adversity. Someone who has seen more on the front line in Ukraine than most of us could imagine in a lifetime. A decorated war veteran, former battalion commander who participated in the liberation of Kherson region, defended Avdiivka, and most recently, Bakhmut. Please welcome Major Andriy Berezovsky.
Дякую. Слава Україні! Дуже радий всіх бачити, вітати. З багатьма я тут знайомий, мене знають, про що ми спілкувалися. Але я ще раз, коли дивлячись у вічі кожному і кожній, можу сказати тільки одне – ми не зламні.
Thank you. I will be translating today for Major Berezovsky. So what he said was he's very happy to be here today. He would like to say hello to everyone again, and seeing everyone here, looking into your eyes, he can really tell that we are absolutely unbreakable.
Так склалася моя доля, що мені довелось на війні бачити дуже багато людей, які, на жаль, залишали там своє здоров'я, які, на жаль, залишалися без своїх кінцівок, рук, ніг. Сьогодні я познайомився і дивлюся у вічі молодій дівчині, незламній Руслані. Я прошу вас ще раз її поаплодувати. Дякую тобі.
It has been my fortune or misfortune that I have seen a lot of war in my life. I have been on the front line. I have seen many atrocities. I have seen people leave their health on the front line. I have seen people lose their arms and legs. And today I saw one of our warriors that has lost her leg, the unbreakable Ruslana, and I would like to ask everyone to applaud to her again.
Бачившись з цими людьми, зустрічавшись, спілкуючись, я можу сказати тільки одне. В них є душа. Жодної людини на полі бою без душі, без українського духу я не бачив.
Having looked into the eyes of the warriors and the people on the front line, I can say that all of them have a soul. I haven't met a single Ukrainian warrior on the front line, haven't looked them in the eye, and I can't say that I have met a single one that doesn't have a soul.
Слухавши сьогодні промову нашої першої леді, пані Зеленської, вона сказала, саме небайдужість є головним ключовим моментом нашої перемоги, нашої незламності. І ви знаєте, я з нею 100% погоджуюсь, тому що, бачивши на сьогоднішній день своїх бійців, які знаходяться на іншій території.
Earlier today we saw a video made by the First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska. And one thing that really stood out to me was the word indifference. And it was the fact that Australians are not indifferent is what bridges the gap and brings us closer together.
На іншій території, так, це Курський напрямок. Моя бригада, в якій я проходив службу, на даний час працює на Курському напрямку. І я бачу їхні відеозаписи, фото, які вони мені пересилають, як вони спілкуються з цивільним населенням, і вони також не байдужі до населення, яке є на території Російської Федерації. Ми залишаємося людьми в будь-який час.
I will add a little bit from myself. Додам ще трошки від себе. So Major Andrei Berezovsky is the former commander of the 2nd Battalion of the 22nd Separate Mechanized Brigade. Currently, and now I will translate what he said. Currently, members of my brigade are currently on the other side. They are on Russian territory leading the incursion of Russia. And I speak to them on a daily basis. I call them, they send me photos of where they are. We speak via video link every single day. And one thing that I can say after speaking to them is, and even though they're on the other side, I can say and use the same word, indifference. Our Ukrainian soldiers are not indifferent to what is going on Russian soil, on where they have entered and what they are doing. And that is what makes us humans, and that's what makes us people.
Минулому році, коли тільки розпочалася співпраця з Австралією, ми познайомилися з пані Катериною, ми розпочинали контрнаступ на Бахмуті, Кліщіївка, Іванівське, Андріївка. І це була надпотужна допомога. 11 місяців мого часу там, саме від АФІО та Австралії.
Exactly 1 year ago is when we started working with Australia. It is when we received aid from Australia, from the AFUO, and it was when we began counteroffensive operations right under Bakhmut. It was towns like Klishchiivka, Andriivka, and all I can say is that the support that we received from the AFUO and from Australia, it was very powerful. For the 11 months that we were there.
Але на той час я мав можливість спілкуватися тільки по відео, по фейстайму, по відео з телефона. А на даний час я маю можливість подивитися вам всім в вічі, сказати дякую. На сьогоднішній день моя бригада, мій підрозділ працює на Курському напрямку. Ми продовжуємо боронити нашу територію, ми продовжуємо захищати наших дітей, наших батьків.
A year ago, I was only able to, for a year, I was only able to speak via video link, phone, FaceTime. But today I have the opportunity to stand here in front of you, to look you all in the eyes, and to say thank you. My people, my members of my brigade, of the 22nd Brigade, continue to defend Ukrainian land. They continue to defend their our children, our families, and захищають, вибач, я забула, захищають дітей, сім'ї, and our parents.
І закінчу свою промову простими словами. Разом до перемоги. Слава Україні!
I will finish my speech with very simple words. Together to victory. Slava Ukraini! I will go off script for 30 seconds, and I just want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone that has been not only supporting the 22nd Brigade that Andrei is representing here. I would like to say a deep thank you from our community to Andrei for traveling all the way here, for doing an advocacy tour around 7 cities across Australia. We went to Canberra. We had Nadia Menchinsky that has helped us so much with media, with organizing meetings. The panel that we had here, we discussed what we could do to help Ukraine. And I want you to realize that here in front of you, we speak about Glory to Ukraine, glory to our heroes. Right here we have a real hero in the flesh, and he is speaking to heroes like this, like him, on a daily basis, and they are going through the most excruciating time, the most difficult incursion that you could possibly imagine. Russia outgunned and outmanned Ukrainians on Ukrainian soil. Now they're on Russian soil trying to do what they can to stop those bombs and missiles flying into Ukraine. Each and every one of you has the power to reach out to your member of parliament. This is how a democracy works. You have the ability to make change, to create policy, to put pressure on your government, to have some sort of action. We really need the political will, and in Australia, this is what we can do. We are Australians. We need to advocate in our own backyard. But please look at Major Berezovsky. He speaks to his people and the absolute frontline heroes on a daily basis, and I can hear the stories of how difficult it is for them. And don't underestimate how even a little bit of help, whether it's moral, whether it's physical, whether it's some sort of non-lethal military aid, it goes a long way to helping them stand on their own 2 feet, have the equipment to continue fighting, and they're doing it in the most difficult conditions. So thank you to each and every one of you that has donated, helped, advocated, wrote a letter, because it helps our brave soldiers like Andriy and his men stay alive and fight for freedom and democracy that we are here standing and celebrating today.
Thank you so much, Katerina and Major Berezovsky, for your ongoing advocacy work and for fighting for Ukraine's freedom. We are now honored to invite Mr. Peter Klochko to lead a brief fundraising auction in support of Major Andriy Berezovsky Brigade.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today, and what a wonderful afternoon to be celebrating Ukraine's independence. And congratulations to all of the event organisers, the performers, the speakers, and of course the commander who's spoken. A big round of applause, please, everybody. So this afternoon we've already won. We have so many people in attendance here today. We've all bought tickets to today's event, and today will be a significant fundraiser to go and continue supporting Ukraine, which we've been doing so for so long. But today, through your ticket that you've purchased today, you have contributed towards supporting Ukraine. But we're going to go one step further. Today we're going to raise some more money. I know that there are some deep pockets here in this crowd. I've seen you. You know who you are. And so that's the good news. The bad news is that we only have 3 items to be auctioning off today. So what I like is I like confident bidders. So I like to see really straight hands up in the air. We don't have time to waste. We're a little bit over time. They've told me to be quick. So confident bidders is what I like. I also like bidding in big increments. So big increments is an excellent thing as well. So if this is your first auction, please, buy the hundreds and thousands is excellent. Look, if you've forgotten your wallets at home, that's okay. If you've forgotten your wallets at home, that's okay. We can figure that out. We can create a payment plan, Australian dollars, US dollars, hryvnia even, no Russian rubles because that's tanking, but Australian dollars is good. Okay, so we have 3 items, and can I just say before we do this first item, how incredible, touching it is and amazingly powerful to hear from the Commander Andriy Berezovsky. Just really quite impressive, and how lucky we are to echo what Katerina has said in terms of hearing from our heroes in the flesh. It's quite a special opportunity to hear from him today. And with that, I invite our first auction lot, which is a flag that has been signed by the commander of the 22nd unit. This literally is a piece of history. If you think about how the war has changed from this moment, we can be looking back at this as a moment of history, and this is a flag signed by their commander. So please, everybody, please understand and respect how important of a piece of history this flag is and will be going into the future. And with that, I would like to start and I'll open it up to the crowd for a strong bid. And like I said, hands going up high, confident hands. We have some helpers who are going to be on the perimeter, so please help me out when we get some bidding. Do I have $500 out in the crowd? $500, please, to start off the bidding for this flag. Yes, thank you in the front. Thank you, Nadia. $500, that's a good start. I'm looking for $600. 6 at the back, thank you very much. Let's go for $750. Who has $750 in their pocket? Thank you, sir. I think $1,000. Thank you, sir. $2,000. Well done. Strong bidding. Take a note from this strong bid. $2,000. Thank you, sir. Who's got more? Who's got 2.5? Yes, sir. 2.5. Would you like to go higher? Just remember, tax time is only a year away. So think about that. $2,500, sir. Would you like to is that a 5? That's a $5,000 bid. A round of applause, everybody, for $5,000. That's what we like to see. Let's keep this energy. Who's got more than $5,000? Some straight hands, please. Remember, this is a piece of history, and remember, and I forgot to mention this, these monies go directly to the front. We are doing our bit to support Ukraine. This is a piece of history that you can take with you today. $5,000 is the bid. I'm going to go $5,000 once, $5,000 twice. Yes, sir. $6,000, well done, a big round of applause. Sir, can we beat 6? $10,000, amazing. Thank you, sir, in the first row, that's $10,000. I'm gonna wind this one down. $10,000 once, $10,000 twice. Sold, sir, for $10,000. Thank you very much, well done. Thank you. Okay, we have a next lot. We have 2 more lots to go. And I think that we've made a considerable dent in our fundraising targets, but I know that there are some eager bidders out. This is quite a remarkable piece, I would say, of art. Yes, you can wear it, but it really is a beautiful piece of art. Now, I think it's Gusick Design, which has done this. It's a very high-end shop in Ukraine. This has just arrived into Australia. I believe the size of this is a medium or large. It's quite flexible in terms of that. It is quite stunning. Now, full transparency on this one. I have a fiance, and I may be bidding. I don't know what the rules are in terms of engagement of being an auctioneer and bidding at the same time, but you just have to live with it, right? Do I have... Well, actually, I'm going to start the bidding on this one. I'm going to bid $500. So who wants to beat me? 500, yes. $1,000, thank you very much. Who's got more than $1,000? Go for $1,500, sir, $1,500, thank you very much. $2,000, Andrei, I know you got more in the gas tank, so just keep that in reserve. $2,000 with Andrei. Do I have $2,500? Ladies and gentlemen, $2,500 I'm looking for. $2,500. This is a beautiful, if you can see it, if you'd like to come up and see it, you're welcome to come up to the stage just to see the beautiful embroidery. It's quite remarkable. $2,000 in the front row. I'm looking for 2.5. I'll take $100 increments. Who's got $2,100? $2,100. No hands. I'm going to go once with the bid down in the front corner. $2,000 once, twice, and 3 times. Well done, Andrei. The last item we have on to auction off today has been referenced several times in the presentation earlier today. It makes reference to a feat of aeronautical engineering, the Antonov plane, which was the biggest plane to take to the skies, which was designed and built in Ukraine. We have, if it's coming to the stage now, we have a painting of the said plane, which was obviously destroyed at the start of the war. Now, this is a very special painting. Not only is it is signed by the last commander of the Antonov plane. This is one of 2, only 2 of these exist. The good news about the Antonov plane is that despite this being destroyed, Ukraine is building a new one. And I just wanted to read out a quote from the Ukrainian Minister of, it might have been Defense, just 1 second. He said that, so the name of the plane was Mria, meaning a dream. So Russia may have destroyed our Mria, but they will never be able to destroy our dream of a strong and free democratic European state. We shall prevail. So this is a one of two around the world, and I'd like to start a bid. Has somebody have $500 to start us off for this painting? $500. Thank you, sir, in the front, in the third row. Who has six? $600. Thank you, sir, at the back. 7. Who has $700? $700 for the painting. $700. Yes, sir, $700. Thank you very much. I'm looking for 8. $800. I have $700 going once. Yes. $1,000. Thank you very much, sir. At $1,000. I'm going to take one. What are you good for, sir? $1,200. Thank you very much. $1,200. I'm looking for $1,500. Who has 15? $1,500. Thank you very much, sir. Man in the back corner. Do you have more? $2,000. Thank you very much. I think I see a familiar face there. I know he's got more in the tank. So let's, I need some dummy bids, please. Who's got more than $2,000? I'm looking at the front row here. I see a lot of suits. Sir, you've been absconded. You're all right. You've done your fair share. Thank you very much. Who's got more than $2,000? Yes, someone at the back. So yes. $3,000. Thank you very much. $3,000. Round of applause, everybody, for $3,000. That takes our target to 15,000. So how much higher can we go? 3,000. Man in the back, do you have any more? I just talked up your gas tank. Don't leave me hanging. $3,000. Anybody else with a bid, firm bids? Okay, $3,000 going once. $3,000 going twice, and sold. Congratulations. If you come down to the front, we'll sort out your details. Thank you very much, everybody. Your money is going to a great place. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Peter, and thank you to our generous guests. We ask that the auction winners please come and join us on stage to receive your prizes and for a group photo. Thank you again to our generous guests and winners. Tonight, we welcome a special guest performance from Ukraine. She is a Ukrainian pop folk singer-songwriter belonging to the new generation of Ukrainian music inspired by the Revolution of Dignity in 2014, breathing new life to traditional songs with contemporary sounds.
Last year, her single Song of the Wind featured as the soundtrack to the global hit animated film Mavka. During these difficult times for Ukraine, she has not wavered in her mission and continues to tour and fundraise for the armed forces. Please welcome Ukrainian superstar Christina Solovey.
Хто ми з тобою в цьому світі? Хто ти мені, а я тобі? Вдихаєм ніжність із повітря, як діти граємо в любов, в зеніті милості й млості, від світла в темряві нараз. Що ж ти, закривши свої очі, лишаєш серце на показ? Хто, як не ти, спалить мости, хто ж побудує знов? Навчи мене жити, як ти, щоб не кипіла кров. Хто, як не ти, спалить мости, хто ж побудує знов? Навчи мене жити, як ти, щоб не кипіла моя кров. Доброго вечора, Сідней! З тобою важко не зважати, від себе нікуди втікти. Сьогодні свято, завтра втрата, сьогодні ми, завтра вони. І я не знаю, де початок, і де кінець, не знаєш ти. На завтра можна не чекати, усе, що маю, все вперед. Хто, як не ти, спалить мости, хто ж побудує знов? Навчи мене жити, як ти, щоб не кипіла кров. Хто, як не ти, спалить мости, хто ж побудує знов? Навчи мене жити, як ти, щоб не кипіла моя кров. Хто, як не ти, спалить мости, хто ж побудує знов? Навчи мене жити, як ти, щоб не кипіла кров. Хто, як не ти, спалить мости, хто ж побудує знов? Навчи мене жити, як ти, щоб не кипіла моя кров. Щоб не кипіла моя кров. Щоб не кипіла моя кров. My name is Christina Solovey. I am a singer from Ukraine. Я дякую усім присутнім в цьому залі українцям, а також австралійцям за те, що ви прийшли сюди для того, щоб вшанувати Український День Незалежності. Пісня, із якої ми почали сьогодні, була саундтреком «Палаючих мостів» і ще багато чого цікавого. Але моя зброя, як української співачки, перш за все, це любов, ніжність і оспівування української культури, як фортепіано. Наступна пісня написалася мені текстом в перші дні повномасштабного вторгнення. А тут є українці взагалі? Ну, то пошуміть трохи. Дякую. Вона називається «Українська лють». І я дякую цим двом хлопцям, Стіву і Джону, які погодилися зі мною зіграти сьогодні на цій сцені усі дні. І не побоялися. Бо після того, як звучить ця пісня, кожного разу вмирає русня. Одного ранку, ще на світанку, земля здригнулась і враз закипіла наша кров, ракети з неба, колони танків і заревів старий Дніпро. Ракети з неба, колони танків і заревів старий Дніпро. Хто не думав, ніхто не бачив, яка насправді бува українська лють, катів проклятих безжально мочим тих, що на нашу землю пруть. Катів проклятих безжально мочим тих, що на нашу землю пруть. В теробороні найкращі хлопці, самі герої воюють у наших ЗСУ і джавеліни, і байрактари за Україну б'ють русню. І джавеліни, і байрактари за Україну б'ють русню. А наші люди, ви, українці в Австралії, проти русні об'єднали вже цілий світ. І скоро зовсім русні не буде, а буде мир на всій землі. І скоро зовсім... Що? Це дуже тихо, там нам треба так, щоб русня почула. І ще! Оце добре. Русні не буде. А буде мир на всій землі. Дякую вам за цю відкритість, дякую за ваші емоції, дякую за те, що ви не байдужі, за вашу допомогу, за те, що ви слідкуєте за українськими новинами. Для нас це дуже важливо. Особливо зараз, коли війна набирає дуже небезпечні обороти, і на Покровському напрямку дуже гаряче і дуже складно. Коли ми не можемо обміняти наших полонених з Азовсталі, а їх більше 2000. За те, що ви виходите на мітинги і вимагаєте у своєї влади справедливості і всього, чого би хотілося для нормального вільного життя, як у вас, так і для нас. Дякую вам за це. Особливо дякую тим українцям, які вже народжені за кордоном, зокрема, в Сіднеї тут, в Австралії і в інших країнах. Але вони вважають себе етнічними українцями. І вони готові вкладатися в цю велику справу, зокрема, великої помсти за таких геніїв українських, як, наприклад, Володимир Івасюк. Я хочу, щоб його пісня сьогодні була поміж нас в Сіднеї у Австралії. Володимир Івасюк, пісня буде поміж нас. Проля Протягла дорога від твоїх воріт до моїх воріт, як струна. То чого ж згубився твій самотній слід? Знаю, я одна, але осінь отой слід листям ще не вкрила, бо до тебе навесні я повернусь, милий. Твої руки я візьму знову в свої руки, і не розквітне поміж нас жовтий квіт розлуки. Не ховай очей блакитний промінь, заспівай мені в останній раз. Пісню ту візьму собі на спомин, пісня буде поміж нас. Бо твій голос щедра повінь, ти мов колос, колос нею повен. Жовтий лист спаде і виросте зелений, а ти в пісні будеш завжди біля мене. Як зійдуть сніги з гір потоками, ой, глибокими навесні, забринить дорога та неспокоєм вдалині, мені вдалині. Але осінь отой слід листям ще не вкрила, і до тебе навесні я повернусь, милий. Твої руки я візьму знову в свої руки, і не розквітне поміж нас жовтий квіт розлуки. Не ховай очей блакитний промінь, заспівай мені в останній раз. Пісню ту візьму собі на спомин, пісня буде поміж нас. Бо твій голос щедра повінь, ти мов колос, зелен колос нею повен. Впаде жовтий лист і виросте зелений, а ти в пісні будеш завжди біля мене. Жовтий лист впаде і виросте зелений, а ти в пісні будеш завжди біля мене. Мене, як у кожного артиста, є одна найвідоміша пісня, а є улюблені. І такою для мене є пісня, яку я написала десь перед ковідними часами. Вона називається «Коала». Та я чую цей «о». Вона насправді не пов'язана з Австралією. Але, зокрема, завдяки їй я приїхала в Австралію, бо я дуже хотіла її заспівати для вас. Я вважаю, що коала – це наймиліше створіння на землі, і коли ми говоримо про кохання, про емоції, про любов, про обійми, я уявляю собі, що ніхто цього краще не вміє, ніж маленька коала. Досить ритися в попелі, перебирати своє минуле, жарти жартами, а мені не вистачає. Як ти любив мої шорти, а я твій старий піджак. знають приховані фото, знають про нас. Я тебе обіймала, як маленька коала, я тобі пробачала і до ранку чекала. Я тебе обіймала, як маленька коала. Де ти був? Не питала, як же тобі пасує просто мовчати і відчувати, як у мені вібрує те, що колись дозволяло літати. Скільки б не було грошей, світ цей безмежний і дивовижний, менше, ніж той, що наш був, менше, ніж пам'яті ти залишив. Я тебе обіймала, як маленька коала, я тобі пробачала і до ранку чекала. Я тебе обіймала, як маленька коала. Де ти був? Не питала. Я тебе обіймала, як маленька коала, я тобі пробачала і до ранку чекала. Я тебе обіймала, як маленька коала. Де ти був? Не питала. Дякую, Сідней! Павло Литвиненко. Ми із Павлом, зокрема, і з моєю командою маленькою, дуже часто їздимо до наших хлопців на фронт для того, щоб зігріти їх піснями, увагою. Ну і, звісно, я обіймаю їх, як маленька коала. Але кожного разу я кажу їм про те, що ми в тилу, я сподіваюся, що ви тут теж. Розуміємо, що наша сила в тому, що і є нашою єдністю. Коли ми тримаємось міцно, коли ми вміємо потішитись один за одного, коли ми маємо можливість стати на сторону один одного, це те, що відрізняє нашого ворога з його байдужістю. Це те, що завжди робило нас людьми. Це любов, людяність і вміння триматися міцно. Як тобі сказати, без тебе не можу спати, і в місяць по кімнаті розкинувся ти. Очі тобі зав'яжу і серце своє покажу, тобі про все розкажу з настінних картин. Тримай мене міцно одною рукою, так сильно і ніжно вбивай мене, віддай мені муку своїми руками. І на завершення цього виступу, заради якого я проробила такий довгий шлях, насправді більше заради вас, тому що у нас всіх є єдина місія зараз. Ми мусимо, як маленькі джерельця, плисти до великої водойми для того, щоб вона прорвала цю кам'яну глибу, і ми нарешті стали вільними і по-справжньому незалежними. Я вирішила завершити цей виступ піснею, яка обов'язково буде піснею нашої свободи, незалежності, стане її синонімом. Колись мені маленький співала моя бабуся, яка, на жаль, вже померла, але її не можна було співати раніше. Зокрема, через такі пісні кагібісти знищили мого рідного діда, якого я не застала за життя. А тепер ця пісня по праву стала другим гімном України.
Ой, у лузі червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася. А ми тую червону калину підіймемо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей-гей, розвеселимо. Марширують наші добровольці у кривавий тан, визволяти братів українців з московських кайдан. А ми наших братів українців визволимо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей-гей, розвеселимо. А ми наших братів українців визволимо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей-гей, розвеселимо. Ой, у полі ярої пшениці золотистий лан розпочали стрільці січові з москалями там. А ми тую ярою пшеницю і зберемо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей-гей, розвеселимо. Україна понад усе, як повіє буйнесенький вітер з широких степів, то прославить по всій Україні січових стрільців.
please big...
As we come to the close of our Independence Day celebration, let us carry forward the spirit of freedom, courage, and culture that defines Ukraine. Today, we've reflected on the strength of a nation that, through immense challenges, continues to stand tall and fight for its future.
The road ahead may still be difficult, but Ukraine's story is one of resilience, hope, and unwavering determination. The courage of its people, the richness of its culture, and the enduring belief in freedom are powerful forces that will shape a brighter tomorrow.
Let us leave here with hearts full of hope, united in our support for Ukraine, and confident that peace and justice will prevail. Together, we will continue to stand with Ukraine in its journey toward a future where independence is fully realized and celebrated in peace and victory.
We encourage you to support Ukraine by donating to the Defend Ukraine Appeal and Ukraine Crisis Appeal. If you wish to donate, please approach the representatives from both charities in the foyer section of the hall. Thank you so much for being part of this important event today. Glory to Ukraine.
Slava Ukraini!